gluten. They avoid it like the plague. And so we'll talk about that on the program today. It is Cyber Monday, so I'm so pumped about this because the wellness company has so many great deals on Cyber Monday. This is their 25% off Black Friday deal, 20% off on other products. So let's just say 20 to 25% off, extended into Cyber Monday. So, folks, I'm talking about the new TheraBlue pain medication, this pain gel that uses peptides. That's absolutely fabulous. I used it over the week. So many products we want to talk about today. That pain gel really, though, is tremendous. And as I said, 25% off supplements and prescription medications, including those medication kits, and 20% off the medical kits and memberships. Okay, so 20% off memberships and medical kits, 25% off supplements and RX. So great deal. You should take advantage of it. Don't forget twc.health/grant. That's twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. With that, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stenchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stenchfield.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I want to bring in my good friend, Dr. Kelly Victory. She, of course, is with the wellness company. Dr. Victory, welcome to the program. I hope you had a great holiday weekend.
Thanks, Grant. Always great to join you. And yes, I did, despite the fact that I was scheduled to fly through Chicago, which was a bit, you can imagine how that went. But fortunately, we were able to get back home through a different town. Happy to be home.
Well, I was one of the lucky ones. I was coming back from Palm Beach, and we had no delays. It was easy. Airport a little crowded, but not too bad. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. All right, so we're talking about gluten-free diets. It seems to be all the craze. I know so many people, including members of my family, that claim to have gluten intolerances. They go out of their way to only eat the right things. I think sometimes they're creating more stress for themselves by just trying to find the right foods. What do you make of this study that was in the Lancet that says maybe most people that have gluten intolerance or think they do actually don't?
Well, I love this topic, Grant, because I've been talking about this for years. As you said in your open, that the actual number of people who have a verifiable, meaning lab confirmed gluten intolerance or sensitivity, you said 2%. I think it's significantly less than that. I think it's probably less than 1%. But the reality is we have created an entire industry around gluten-free. We have areas of grocery stores that are gluten-free. We have entire restaurants that are gluten-free, certainly menus in certain restaurants that are for gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity. And the reality is, as you said, I believe that most people, and I've said this for years, are not actually gluten intolerant. They're not trying to be annoying by doing this. They honestly believe they have a gluten intolerance. And I think that it's largely because of the way that we grow our crops in this country, and specifically the pesticides and fertilizers that are used that include glyphosates. So I believe that most people think that they have an issue, a sensitivity to the wheat or the gluten within the wheat, for example, but it's really what has been sprayed on the crops. And part of the reason I believe that, by the way, is because I have many, many patients who come back and report, and they can't understand why, that they say, gosh, doc, I went to Europe, I went to Italy, I ate my body weight in pasta and pizza and bread, and I didn't have any issues. And then I came back to the United States, and once again, my, quote, gluten problem came back.
I take it that Europe doesn't use pesticides and chemicals like we do on their crops.
Exactly. They do not use hardly, any of the pesticides and fertilizers, and they certainly don't use the glyphosate-containing ones. If, for example, you can go and buy in the United States flour, for example, that's from Italy to make your pizza dough. If you don't use, whatever the American brand is, many people remarkably all of a sudden, quote, cure their gluten problem when it really wasn't a gluten issue in the first place. And as you said, this Lancet article points out that people have monopolized on this, this false fear of gluten and have created an entire industry around it, when really what we need to do is more akin to what Bobby Kennedy has been suggesting in the MAHA movement, which is let's stop poisoning ourselves by using glyphosates on all of our crops.
So it's interesting because they said that they studied those who suspected a gluten sensitivity, and they reacted the same way, even to a placebo. They reacted.
Yes.
So what does that tell you when they're reacting with this gluten insensitivity to a placebo that clearly doesn't have gluten in it? Is it now a mind problem as well?
I think it may be. If you imagine, for example, if you've ever gotten food poisoning or gotten sick after eating a particular thing, you had nothing to do with the pizza, but you got deathly ill and vomited or had abdominal cramps or diarrhea, all of a sudden in your mind, you associate that food product with those symptoms, even though it had nothing to do with one another. It may have been food poisoning from something else, or maybe you drank too much, whatever it was. So yes, I do believe that for some people, the association of getting cramps or feeling badly after eating something that contains gluten, then when they're fed that same food product without gluten, they still feel ill, or they have those same symptoms. It's not uncommon. So a portion of it may in fact be placebo effect now.
All right. So that would mean then to me that the brain is somehow getting involved in all of this, and that what would trigger the brain? Is it fear of the result?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. You have tied together in your brain that food product with these horrible symptoms. And so it's no longer a chemical issue. It's an association. There are people who can, smell coffee and they have a particular memory or thought of it, or they can. So whatever, if you had bad symptoms at one point after eating something, then yes, you absolutely can tie that smell or the taste of that food product with those symptoms.
So when you look at this now, then, what's the answer for people? Just to simply get tested?
Well, I think for one thing, the answer, yes. You could simply do the blood test for what we call celiac disease, which is the scientific or clinical term for people who have gluten intolerance, gluten sensitivity, or allergy. That number is well less than those people who believe that they have a gluten issue. It's in the perhaps 1% range. And then I think people might want to do a trial where they actually reintroduce food items that include gluten, but don't have those things that I'm talking about, the pesticides and fertilizers, specifically the glyphosates. So you can go to a store and buy flour, for example, that is marked as organic, pesticide-free, fertilizer-free, glyphosate-free. There are certainly many brands that are imported from places like Italy that are free from those things, and make a pizza dough, make a loaf of bread, and see what actually happens once you do not include any of those other toxins. I believe that for most people, that is really what is causing the gastrointestinal issues.
All right. It was interesting because when they went back and tested those who were self-reporting their gluten issues, only 30% actually confirmed that they had a gluten. So that means 70% didn't have it, but 80% of everybody that was self-reporting did meet the criteria for IBS, that's irritable bowel syndrome. Explain to me, doctor, are the two not related? Could gluten intolerance cause IBS, or is IBS a totally separate issue?
It certainly can cause it. IBS really is sort of a kitchen sink term, Grant. It's the term we use when we can't come up with a definable reason that someone is having the symptoms that they're having. In other words, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is really a conglomeration, a constellation of symptoms rather than a disease in and of itself. We've given it this name, but there's no known specific cause for IBS. Many things can cause it. Anxiety can cause it. Travel can cause it. Lack of sleep can cause it. Certain foods can cause it. It's really a description of a constellation of symptoms rather than a disease itself. So yes, if someone actually has a gluten issue, they could develop IBS because those are the symptoms that they have. But I agree, there are many, many people who have now, and so many people, let's also talk about the fact that so many people believe that if something is marked gluten-free, that somehow is a stamp of healthfulness, that somehow reflects that this is a more healthy food. If people promote it, they say, and it has no gluten. Okay, well, I like gluten. I have no reason to avoid gluten, and most people have no reason to avoid gluten. But people now tie it together as somehow a stamp of healthfulness, or that this is a better product than something that includes gluten. It's become kind of a bathtub term, as again, like organic, that doesn't really mean a whole lot.
All right, so what I'm getting from all of this is that people really start to need to go back and figure out where they stand. And I guess you do it through a series of deduction, as you said, as you start to take some of these things out. I'm shocked people wouldn't have done this already, which then leads me to believe what we talked about earlier, the brain situation is probably playing a role in this. And I look at some of the statistics of when you have this, it can cause all kinds of stress. When you think you're gluten intolerant, you can't go out to dinner with your friends, or you have to pick certain places that you can go. Gluten-free food is not only expensive, which is a huge downside. Right. That's going to cause stress for people. It is low in fiber, which a nutritional aspect of the gluten-free is not really great on that front. And then it can upset gut bacteria. What does that mean, doctor?
Well, I think much of what we've done by avoiding entire classes of food is that we have upset the gut biome, meaning the bacteria that we need within our colons that help us, number one, digest food, also absorb nutrients, and keep bowel activity normal. So people, between everything we do in our daily lives, whether it's the bizarre food habits that people have adopted as a result of this false belief that they should avoid gluten, that they should avoid this food or that food, that on top of overuse frequently of antibiotics, for example, we have disrupted the gut biome, and that has caused everything from an increase undoubtedly in obesity, but also in a lot of these gastrointestinal issues that people have. So I think the best thing you can do is sort of start with a clean slate, start going food by food, and figuring out what you're actually sensitive to. If you have a true allergy, take somebody, for example, who has a nut allergy, a peanut allergy. It isn't subtle. You don't ever hear about people talking about being, I'm nut sensitive. Either you're allergic to nuts or you are not allergic to nuts. You never hear somebody saying, I have a peanut sensitivity. You know, I mean, that's really, so in the same way, either you don't tolerate gluten, and I think the people who've been lumped into this idea, and the people who can't tolerate gluten are called celiac disease. The vast majority of people who have been identified as, quote, gluten sensitive, I believe it's glyphosate sensitive, pesticide sensitive, rather than actually the gluten.
How actually do you get tested for this to confer one way or the other?
It's a blood test. You go to your doctor and get a blood test for celiac disease.
It's that easy.
Yes.
Okay. I would urge people, if they hadn't had that done and they're claiming this, to get that done, because they may be wasting yes. a lot of money out there. Let me remind people, Dr. Victory, that today is Cyber Monday. The Wellness Company sponsors this podcast. 25% off supplements and RX, 20% off memberships and medical kits. The medical kits are amazing. I think every home should have one. twc.health/grant is the website to go to. twc.health/grant. We talk a lot, Dr. Victory, about the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, the problems with the spike protein. There's a product called Ultimate Spike Detox.
Yes.
This helps get that spike protein out of your system. Can you talk to me about how well it works, and anyone concerned about that spike protein should really be using this as a daily supplement?
Absolutely. And to be clear, the problem here, Grant, is the people who have been vaccinated largely, not so much people who simply had and recovered from COVID. Because if you had the virus, you got rid of the virus, their spike protein went with it. You aren't continuing to have spike protein in your body. In contradistinction to people who got vaccinated. Getting the vaccine, unfortunately, gave that mRNA, that blueprint or instruction manual to every cell in your body to continue to produce spike proteins. And that spike protein from COVID is the part that we know was toxic. It is the part that causes heart damage, the part that causes blood clots, the part that causes inflammation of nerves, and on, the part that causes autoimmune symptoms. The combination of things that are in the Ultimate Spike Detox, it includes nattokinase, which is an enzyme that comes from the fermentation of soybeans. It's been eaten for millennia by Asian cultures. It is very, very effective at degrading, breaking down the spike protein. In fact, a recent study showed that nattokinase was able to break down those white, rubbery, fibrous clots, those atypical clots that people have seen and that people have developed, those rubbery things. 87% of those in the laboratory were broken down by nattokinase, where they are not broken down, interestingly, by our standard blood, clot buster medications that we've used for regular blood clots. The formulation also includes bromelain, which comes from the pineapple plant, another enzyme that helps to break down the spike protein. And it includes curcumin, which is a very, very good anti-inflammatory, comes from, the same as it's in the turmeric family. So that combination and this preparation has really worked miraculously for people. It's not an overnight fix. Most patients need to take it for anywhere from 6 to 18 months or more. But if you follow your spike antibody levels, which is through a standard blood test, everyone can get it. You don't even need a doctor's prescription to get that blood test. And over time, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you will see a lowering of that antibody level, which is a reflection of how much spike protein you have in your body.
All right. I urge everybody to really consider this, especially if you've taken the vaccine. I know Dr. McCullough, who was really instrumental in formulating this, takes it. He wasn't vaxxed, and he takes this on a daily basis as well. Then, of course, there is the TheraBlue pain gel, which is phenomenal. I actually was walking on the beach. What a horrible thing to have to happen, right, to me over the holidays. But when you haven't walked a lot in thick, deep sand, you get sore. I use this TheraGel on my hips, and man, I'm going to tell you something fabulous. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. That's twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. And I'll just remind everybody again, Cyber Monday through tomorrow, 25% off these supplements, 20% off membership kits and medical kits, memberships and medical kits, twc.health/grant, and free whipped tallow cream for the first 1,000 orders, which is great. twc.health/grant. Okay. So Dr. Victory, let me ask you next, about a situation or article I read about organ donors. And I'm not sure if it was you and I that had talked about this months and months and months ago, but I know I did a podcast about the problems with the organ donor system, where they're so eager to take your organs due to the finances behind it, due to,
Right.
I mean, I don't know. They said all kinds of numbers. I saw one in this article. They took 100 pancreata. Is that plural for pancreas? Is that what that is?
Yeah, pancreas is.
So 100 pancreata, which I guess is plural for pancreas, and they tossed them. And apparently they were looking to build up their numbers to show that they were taking a certain amount of organs, and they didn't even use them. And they took them. But the worst was the situation at a hospital where there was, now this is in New Jersey. The New Jersey Sharing Network is the one accused of this in a letter from the House Ways and Means Committee, I believe it was, looking into not very good practices in this organ donation. Someone had reanimated, meaning they had a respiratory issue. That's what they thought they died of. And they're getting ready to do an organ donation, and they show signs of life. The administrator for New Jersey Sharing Network calls and is told to go through with the organ donation. Luckily, the hospital stepped in and stopped that from happening. But this is about as frightening as you can get. Quote, reanimated as you're about ready to give an organ donation because they think you're dead, Dr. Victory?
Right. Yeah, it sounds a little bit like the plot line for a Stephen King novel. It's horrific, Grant. If people think that organ donation is the last great sacrifice, great gift you can give. And without doubt, I'm a huge supporter of organ donation. I used to have a sign on my desk that said, "Don't take your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here." And really well done, correctly done, organ donation is amazing. When I started in medicine, we only transplanted kidneys, for example. Occasionally, livers were really new. Now we transplant everything from hearts and lungs, kidneys, pancreas, skin, corneas. It's amazing, but it has to be done respectfully and ethically, which means that true proof of not only, organ or systemic death, but also brain death needs to be documented. And that takes a very long and calculated set of tests to prove that someone is in fact brain dead and has full organ death and therefore cannot be recovered. You need to have brain death before you start thinking about transplanting organs. And as I said, unfortunately, it turns out that at certain hospitals, certain medical systems, that process was rushed, and therefore full and true brain death was not established. People can be in a very deep coma, induced coma. For example, many people are put into a coma or a coma-like state when they're in the intensive care unit. It takes a number of days for those medications to wear off. So you need to make sure that all those medications are out of the system before you even start to test to see if that person is actually brain dead or just under the influence of medications.
So this article I read about this, apparently the letter that Congress sent to this organization said they have nearly a dozen whistleblowers that have come forward to literally blow the whistle on these folks. One of the allegations was that this organization was ignoring the wait list sequence and skipping over certain people. And as they skipped over certain people, some of those people are now dead and could have used an organ donation. I don't understand what the motivation would be for skipping over people, but it doesn't sound good.
My guess, although I can't substantiate this, but my strong suspicion is that it has to do with money, that people are paying up, that they're saying, I'm number 4 on the kidney transplant list, but would $1 million donation to your hospital help move me up? As I said, I don't have proof of that. I'm simply saying what I suspect may be at play because we've seen it so many times that for a certain amount of a donation, you could find yourself in a better spot on the list.
All right, I'll ask you a real controversial question here. Do you think private organ harvesting should be legal? should, if I want to give my kidney up to somebody and someone would be willing to buy it from me for $1 million, should that be legal?
Absolutely not. It's an ethical slippery slope, Grant,
Why? If I
because
want to sell my kidney for $1 million, why can't I sell it for $1 million?
because once there's a private market for that, there's also a private market for kidnapping and for organ procurement that is unethical. If that kind of money can be done and I can sell it on the black market, there's no reason to think you won't see what you see in other countries, including China, which is, I can kidnap you, your daughter, your whoever, and get a kidney, 2 kidneys, and a bunch of other things, and sell them for huge money.
All right, I'm only going to play devil's
advocate. Never allow that to happen.
Only devil's advocate here. The kidnapping is illegal, so that's already illegal. And if you wanted to do that now, it's still illegal. You could probably go ahead and do with it now. But what if you had a marketplace, a free market, where you had to sign off, and the organ donor had to sign off, and there were certain protocols in place where you created literally what I would dub a free market of organ donation, because already all those things are illegal. You kidnap somebody, you're going to go to jail for a long time. Would it not create more opportunity for more lives to be saved?
I honestly do not believe. I believe if you create a quote market for that, I believe you're going to start seeing homeless people disappearing, people who are, no one's going to miss, and those organs.
But if the rules were you have to sign off on it.
So you're talking about if you personally, there are very few things you can donate. If it's
living,
you, do
right?
it.
Like what, a kidney?
A kidney, that's about it. You only got one heart. You're certainly not giving up your corneas.
Right.
I assume you're not going to, a liver would be, you only have one liver, you only have one pancreas. You can't donate your lungs. So there's not a lot you can donate. Blood donation, we do, plasma donation, but there's not much that you as a living donor can donate. And that would include, for example, the one kidney. That's it.
And that's it. Yeah, I guess when you say that's all you can really donate, I don't know. I guess how much to give one eye for a cornea? Would I take $5 million for one eye? I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. Interesting. I just thought of it on the fly, Doc, and you know me, I'm always trying to make a few bucks. So
I think it's an ethical and moral issue. That we would cross the Rubicon there, and I don't think it's wise.
All right. So how do we get the organ donation system under control? Because it seems to me, from what I've been reading over the last couple of years, that it's ripe with fraud and these problems of where people aren't actually dead.
Yeah, well, I think, I am not a big fan of more government regulation, but this is an area that has to be highly, highly monitored and regulated. And you need to be able to show as a hospital system that you have gone through the extensive and exhaustive testing to prove brain death. It's very easy to prove that the heart has stopped beating. It's easy to prove that there's no respiration. It is not so easy to prove that the brain has stopped, because the brain can go into a deep somnolence, where there appears to be no brain activity when in fact it is still there. So proving brain death is something, as I said, that takes a significant amount of testing, and we unfortunately are going to have more regulation and oversight to prove that hospitals are doing that.
Yeah, I've read a few horror stories from more than just this one network we talked about. So we shall see if they get to the bottom of that, because that is really frightening. And I've got it on my license that, I'm an organ donor. If I'm dead, why not try to save a life or make somebody's life better? I'm all for it, but I want to make sure I'm dead before they go taking my heart and everything from me. Dr. Victory, it's so great to see you. Hey, one last question. This recharge product, this is the methylene blue. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the data on methylene blue really is quite remarkable. It's a very strong antioxidant. It's been used for decades in medicine for other things, but in small amounts, it really does seem to have a remarkable impact on energy levels and on recovery, largely, I think, because of its use as an antioxidant. So it's worth people trying. It needs to be taken by the directions because you can take too much. But I think that methylene blue is one of the unsung heroes in the longevity or biohacking world.
All right. Well, you can get it at twc.health/grant. And I think today and tomorrow, you don't even need to use the promo code. Everything will be registered with that between 20 and 25% off, which is absolutely great. Dr. Victory, it's so great having you on the program as always. I'm glad you had a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you again soon. I'm sure we'll see you before Christmas.
Sounds great. Thanks a bunch, Grant.
Thank you, Doc. And folks, remember, again, it is Cyber Monday, and the Wellness Company is having a great Cyber Monday sale, 25% off supplements and RX, 20% off memberships and medical kits. twc.health/grant. Use that website and get your big savings. I know a lot of people took advantage of this on Friday. These are the medical kits that I'm talking about. You got prescription medications in here, including ivermectin. You can also get a prescription for ivermectin from the Wellness Company, all sourced in the United States. And that is very, very important. And then, there's this product that I really love. This is testosterone support. It's called Mars. It's for men. And I'll tell you what, this increases stamina, does away with brain fog, increase your testosterone levels. That helps you build muscle mass. This is a fabulous product. It's called Mars. And again, go there for 25% off on this Cyber Monday sale. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. We will see you all on the Real America's Voice show tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you then.